Welcome to the Fright Lab. I'm Lucas Yoakum, and we are now in our 17th entry tonight of the 2025 31 Days of Horror, 31 Days of Halloween, 31 for 31 challenge, whatever you guys are calling it. I know you guys have watched a lot of horror movies this season, and we hope you're having as much fun following my kind of meandering tale of trying to cram in all of these movies this season. But I've done pretty well thus far, and, you know, I think I want to talk about this film especially, mostly because of pleasant surprise. And that film is, well, you've already read the title of this episode, Horror in the High Desert 2, Minerva. Okay, so first of all, if you are listening to this episode without listening to the episode that we just did about Horror in the High Desert, the original, what are you doing, man? Don't be weird about this. Go back and listen to that episode so you'll know what I'm talking about, or kind of. So, Horror in the High Desert 2 picks up, I don't want to say it picks up right after the original Horror in the High Desert. It's not that kind of chronology. Rather, it follows another mysterious case from the same stretch of the high desert in Nevada. Apparently, there's a lot of mysterious deaths and disappearances. And in this case, we're focusing initially on a geology student named Minerva. So Minerva decides that she's interested in making a career change, decides she's going to get in geology, and tries to get into a geology program out in Nevada. There's a lot of quarries and caves out there, so that's where you go, apparently. Well, it doesn't quite work out that way, because shortly after she arrives, a number of strange occurrences begin happening. Now, some of it is very easily explainable. They talk to her neighbor at one point. He's a pretty weird guy. And then, she should be adapting to that. She's kind of living in a crappy little place. It's not going great. But then, one night, she's disappeared and killed. Now, flash forward. The story also follows another chain of events of a young woman who was on a long road trip. She was nearly home. She had to stop, wait for some help of some variety. Things go awry. She herself goes missing and gets hurt. The local authorities, the, fire, ambulance, rescue teams are totally, just utterly flattened. They don't know what to do with it. But it all has this very familiar ring, doesn't it? Sounds a little bit like the first case of Horror in the High Desert. So, everyone who encounters this malicious kind of unknown force out in the desert reports all sorts of weird physical symptoms. So whatever is out there is more than just some person running around. It's not Jason Voorhees, and not that Jason Voorhees was by the end of the series just some dude. You follow me, right? There's a level of this that is supernatural is maybe the wrong word, and paranormal is not quite the word. Rather, I go back to the word we talked about in the last episode, the term high strangeness. This movie does a much better job of kind of laying out how weird everything is about this case, and it does so really, really well. This movie is a lot better at hitting the marks it was going for than the original. The first movie's good, and I recommend it, and I think it's a lot of fun, but I don't think it quite lives up to the potential that the story lays down in front of you. It's kind of sad in that regard, because it is such a good movie. Minerva, however, shows a lot more growth. It shows that the director and the production team and the cast all had access to better options. I think the acting is a little more even, and not having to film within the very strict confines of COVID safety restrictions, from early in the pandemic, really do make a huge difference. People are able to be in the same room together. The interviews feel a little less stilted, a little more normal, maybe. I'm not quite sure how to describe that exact quality. There is a little bit of a recurring cast. There's one returning cast member, and she kind of gets the ball rolling. And I hope we hear more from her. More on that in a second. I want to kind of address a thing about this movie that I really liked, that I thought was done really well. The quote-unquote tapes. Because every time you have a found footage film, part of the conceit of the film is that you have some sort of videotape or digital video recording or something showing the spooky ooky thing that happened that is either setting it off or ending the story, right? So the tapes that are discovered, one is done primarily from a dash cam inside of a car, so looking at the driver, and then followed up by a body cam situation where a fire rescue person is going into the mountains to look for someone. Those are super effective and they look very real, and I like them, and I think they were a good decision. But there is a quote unquote tape midway through showing some of the events happening to not only Minerva, but to another more mysterious character within the film. And I won't spoil any of the details there. It's fascinating and very, very scary. The way they're filmed is really convincing to me because it was supposed to be an analog cassette that was uploaded to a digital format, so the quality is very weird. It feels very analog horror to me. And then Minerva, our main character, she is talking when she's on video. It is primarily through what looks like an iPhone, I believe. These two qualities, they're very different because, iPhone video quality is pretty good, all things considered. But that other kind of analog to digital, washed out, glitchy quality, the combination of the two is very sweet and sour. It's a very sweet and salty combination that really, really works. I do feel that the clear, clean iPhone video to me is a little less, compelling maybe than the more analog sections. It makes some details harder to suss out. It kind of holds the mystery up a little higher. I think it works really effectively, and I think it's very, very creepy. I don't know. That's just my own individual taste showing there, I guess. So the question is, should you go watch Horror in the High Desert 2 Minerva? And the answer, in my opinion, is yes. Don't do it without watching the first film, however, because, well, you're not going to get it. The entirety of the film is not going to make any sense in that regard. So, use some common sense, some common film-going sense with that. But also, I think this movie finally gets this thing that I've been ranting about in films for a long time. And not that the director was in contact with me. Don't take it that way. But rather that this film kind of gets indie horror, right? It's the thing I talk about constantly at the end of, I think, every one of our longer main episodes. I always say that, independent media is the future of media. It's where the best stuff is happening. And I believe that still. In this case, it couldn't be more clear that everyone had to pull together to make this work. Everyone had to act their heart out and probably only had a couple of takes to get it right. So I feel like this movie's a great example of indie horror kind of writ large. And there is kind of a gripe I want to make. Gripe's the wrong word. It's just me wanting to kind of vent both some frustration and some excitement. Apparently, Horror in the High Desert 3, Firewatch, which I believe is supposed to be the conclusion of the series, is out now, but it's not streaming anywhere I currently have uploaded and can just get my hands on. I'm extremely annoyed by that fact, and I'm sorry, I can't help it. But I am looking forward to that, and I hope that they can actually stick the landing. Most trilogies don't, but I really hope that this one can get the thing that they're after. So, friends, siblings, I want to know if you've seen Horror in the High Desert or Horror in the High Desert 2 Minerva. If you have, what do you think? Is it worth other people checking out? And are there other found footage and, horror cinema verite bits that are a little off the beaten path? The Tubi gold mine, so to speak, that are worth checking out? If so, you need to let us know. You can do that by reaching out to us at thefrightlabpodcast@gmail.com. We can be found on basically all social media, as well as YouTube and Discord. Just look for The Fright Lab. So, as you're breaking here tonight to go watch a horror movie of your own, I want you to remember that The Fright Lab is written and researched by me, Lucas Yoakum, and is edited and mostly co-hosted by the one and only Joseph Wren. We appreciate each and every one of you. Now go watch a good horror movie tonight, all right? And please enjoy your spooky season.